So this is a brand new series on Adele TV because it's important to have dope conversations with dope Africans who are doing dope things. Not necessarily in music, not necessarily Des, not necessarily Adele on the loose stuff. And so this is a brand new series, Canvas was born. So episode 1, coming to you in October, is all about talking about breast cancer, something that I'm very vocal about because my late mom passed away due to breast cancer. One thing I think people don't talk about much is what the family goes through. I think in 10 years, or over 10 years actually, of my mom going through breast cancer, I went for one support group that was only for family members who have a patient in their family battling cancer. Only one. So I think there's a problem there, and maybe like in the next few years, I'll handle that problem, but maybe this is step 1, you know. So I think one thing for me, my mom was diagnosed in December 98, but she actually started getting treatment, and it actually started dawning on us what exactly was happening in 99. So my mom sat us all down. In 99, how old was I? No. I was very young. I was 10. Thanks, guys, behind the camera for helping me with math. But yeah, so I was 10 years old, and I remember I was in class 5, that I remember. And my mom had sat us down, told us what exactly it was that she was going through, but she had made cancer seem like it was malaria. So I wasn't scared or anything. I was just like, okay, so my birthday is going to be celebrated in Nairobi Hospital. All right, as long as I have cake, you know. And then when word got to school that my mom had breast cancer, there was this evil child who came to me and was like, oh, by the way, I heard your mom has breast cancer, so you know she's going to die, right? Imagine, like, I was like, I thought it was like malaria. What are you talking about, death? And then my big sister punched her. Like, it was a situation, but long story short, that was the beginning of a lot of reactions. Like, people look at you like, oh my God, what do we say? You know, they don't give you the support that you need, even as a family member who has somebody who's battling with cancer. Everybody's just either fearful, silent, they dance around everything instead of like really asking questions, or they're evil, like that little child. But what I want to do in this episode is have a very candid conversation with somebody who's been a friend of mine for over, please help again, guys, the math. So for like 12 years. Again, don't calculate the age, but we met in, let's call it high school so that you guys make us younger. And so she was with me while my mom was battling cancer, because my mom battled it for like 10 years, on and off. So in high school, I used to be the chick who had all the breast cancer ribbons. I was the connect there. I knew all the things by proxy because I was helping my mom spread awareness when it comes to your self-breast exams, your mammograms, what age should you go and have that done. And it was just because that's what my mom was doing. So we went through that together. And then unfortunately, her mom and my mom became boys through us. Sindio, we were the connect, we were the plug. And so she'll tell the story as to why she's in this episode today.
I'm Val. I'm very good friends with Adele here. You can't see her. Can you see her? No. Okay, but now you can. We've known each other since high school, as she said. She said her mom went through this, and the thing, it makes it easier for me to talk to her about what my mom is going through because I have someone who gets it. For 2 years, she saw a doctor because she had a lump in her breast. But unfortunately, they told her that this lump is like a bump in the road. It's not anything. And you know, you're supposed to trust your doctor. So she said, cool. And she went home. And then 2 years later, when she goes to see another doctor because now she has pain in her spine and it's unbearable, is when she does more tests. So now new tests. And then she's told that you have stage 4 breast cancer. I'll never forget, it was June 15th, 2012. I still remember the day. It was a Friday. I remember I was thinking, this is a joke, as in stage 4. Like, I remember my mom didn't know it, so wasn't as well versed. So she didn't understand stage 4, and I was like, stage 4 is the worst stage. It doesn't get, worse than that. And yeah, so the misdiagnosis really cost us 2 years, when I think she could have had more effective treatment that wouldn't have had her where she is now. The first thing I thought my mom knew, because she didn't scream or cry or anything. She was like, oh, okay. So how do, and I'm like, wait, you knew? And she's like, no, I'm just finding out now. I'm like, then why are you so calm? And then I remember we went home after that. We told my siblings, but my sis was in the States. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but after we told her, she cried the whole weekend. She didn't even go to work. But I can imagine it was very scary for her because she wasn't here. I think it's easier to assess the situation when you're home versus when you're abroad and you're being told your mom has stage 4 breast cancer, and you're like, what? She's dying, as in. So it was difficult, but she's always been a trooper. So she was going to take herself to chemo and come back. And yeah, I remember it was her day 3 to 5 that were really difficult. Because I remember there was a point one of my cousins was staying with us, and she'd noticed my mom was always on the phone. My mom she loves to talk. She's always on her phone. But during day 3 to 5, she was just in bed and throwing up, very, very sick. And I remember she asked me, she's like, your mom, this chemo? And I'm like, yeah, how can you tell? And she's like, she's not even on her phone. And she had to do 8 cycles of that. Then in December, we did the mastectomy of the breast. Then after that, we had to do radiation on her spine in January. And I know this is a point she wanted me to reiterate. I don't know how to say this without putting words in her mouth, but she feels a bit shortchanged because the doctor who did the radiation didn't tell her that there was a chance she could end up paralyzed. And she says that is information she'd have liked to know, so that she'd have found a way to deal with the spine, the way it had moved to the spine, that didn't have to leave her paralyzed. So we did it in January, and they did a terrible job, I'm going to say it. And then she went to India for the PET scan that showed she was clean. But just before she went to India in May, she had started walking like limping, and we didn't understand what was going on. And then she came back and it started to get progressively worse. She could still drive a manual car, by the way. She could still drive, but you could see it was getting worse. Then she needed a crutch, then it became 2 crutches. And it was around September or October of that year, which was the last time my mom ever walked. I came in and one of her sisters was helping to drag her to the room because her legs just gave. Someone told her that she's heading towards paralysis and there's nothing she can do to stop it. I remember she came home that day, and the word I used to describe is devastated. She was being told, you'll probably never walk again. And then in 2014, 2015 were the worst years. She was in hospital, admitted at least once a month. It was always something or the other. And most of it now, even the cancer became in remission, but because of the radiation, the nerves, it just became this huge, huge, huge problem. And so 2014, 2015 were some of my worst, absolute worst years. And I think it took a while for my mom and I to find our rhythm, because I used to feel like as a firstborn, there's this pressure. And so there's stuff she'd tell me or stuff she'd expect of me that she wouldn't expect of my siblings. So for a while, it was so hard. But after a while, and I think it became easier once we got a nurse as well for at night. So then I think her not having to rely on us for everything also just made things get much easier, yeah. I think I'm much more aware that life is a gift. I'm aware that aging is a gift. Let me say this right now. Anyway, for there's, especially it's a thing with women, they don't like to say how old you are. You know, if you're 40, they like to shelve off a few years. And from my mom, I'm seeing aging is a gift. Being able to say, I'm 55, I'm 65. So many people don't get to see 30. So many people don't get to see 40. So many people don't get to see, and on and on and on. So I think just recognize the fact that it's a blessing that you're able to live to this number of years that even makes you embarrassed to say how old you are. So aging is a blessing. Health, oh my God, health. It's funny because I and my siblings, we never used to get sick much. Like we were in hospital very rarely, very, very rarely. So even with my mom, then all of a sudden she's in hospital every month. And I'm like, so health is a blessing. I just used to be this out there, very happy, live for the moment type of person. But now I'm like, what's my purpose? What am I here for? My mom, what she's going through, what's it? How can we help other people who have been through this? How can we let people be aware that doctors don't always get it right? I think you just need to believe. You need to believe completely that things will get better. And my problem, I used to not like that because I'm like, the problem with hope is you can hope for something so badly, and then when it doesn't come through, you're just so disappointed. But the belief is not for you, it's for this person. You need to send out these vibes of positivity and encouragement and love, and they will feed off that and use that to keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. Because right now my mom, her cancer is back. It was in remission, but now it's back and she's going through chemo. And I remember there was a time she was wondering, do I do this chemo or do I not? Because the pain I'm in right now, I can't imagine adding chemo to that. And I told her, it's time to pull out those gloves. Round 2 in the ring is here, and you have to fight. And when you're that encouraging and you always make them laugh and you cheer them up, it helps them to fight. And I think that's your role as family. You need to give this person the motivation, the encouragement, the shoulder to cry on, whatever it is, but you need to make them really feel like they can do this.
So I'm really, really excited. Like the first episode of Canvas had my BFF. We have to limit how much she talks because she knows all my secrets, all of them.
If you buy I like books and shoes and wine.
However,
I will tell you.
But I love that you've opened up. Like for me, knowing you personally, I know how much it took for you to be able to openly talk, not just to like individuals, but in front of a camera. So I'm really, really, really excited because there's somebody who's watching who's literally going through, actually quite a few people, if you look at the stats of people being diagnosed with cancer. But we were just actually also talking about what you think can change from your experience for us in Kenya, and who knows, maybe there's somebody in a different country, you have similar problems, but what do you think are the key things that we need to change?
For me, I'd say it was the healthcare. The doctors, the nurses need to understand that, well, this is one of your many patients. This is my only mom. And so when you get a patient, understand they have a family who loves them. Understand they have a family who want nothing but for them to have their best chance. And as the experts in your field, that best chance starts with you. So I really feel cheated that when my mom was misdiagnosed for 2 years, we could have been dealing with it maybe stage 1 or 2, as opposed to getting it in stage 4 and then getting more incomplete information that doesn't tell her that the radiation might leave you paralyzed. And there I completely fault the experts because they should have done a better job. And the nursing care in the hospital, just be more diligent. I remember there was once it's so hard not to say this hospital name. I remember once we were in the hospital and she was so mad she went on a strike. She's like, I'm not eating, I'm not bathing, I don't want any of these people have all annoyed me, I just want to go home, because they really weren't taking care of her. And I had to tell the nurses, like, do you understand how privileged you are? This is a private hospital. There are doctors and nurses striking out there who would give so much to have, to get what you have, to get to work in the conditions that you have. And yet you have this privilege and you're wasting it. I was like, just do your job. And I remember I knew she was so pissed because she didn't even reprimand me for telling the nurses. Nobody, she's like, please, can you just leave them? I'll fight this fight myself. And that time she was really, really pissed. So I think from what I have gone through, because I don't have the whole exposure that you have with your mom and Kenya Breast Health Program, it's the doctors and the nurses. They can do better.
No, yeah, because like when you go through, you're in hospital every other week. The worst part, like it's normally so nice when all your family are there and you're in the room and you're cheering up, you know, it's your mom or your dad or whatever who's in hospital getting cancer treatment. And then the time for leaving comes. And that's like when my heart would just drop, because I'm like, now I'm trusting a stranger with my mom, and I don't want to get a call in the middle of the night saying something happened and we couldn't salvage the situation and it was their fault. You know what I mean? So I get where you're coming from. For me, it's also, especially in the day and age of social media, I remember once waking up to my mom trending, and I had left her in the general ward. She had gone from ICU, HDU to the general ward, and she was trending because somebody had a cancer foundation, and I guess they thought it would get the mileage to use her name and say she needed blood. And I was just like, so first I was like, let me just call the nurse before I light fires online. Let me call the nurse, maybe they know something that I don't, and why wouldn't they call us first? So I called them, and the nurse is like, everything's okay, I don't know what's going on. And so I went on, obviously at that time, you have so many emotions and some of them might not, I was just really mean online, right? And maybe it wasn't like all meant for that person, but you're going through, it's scary, it's scary. And I think if you don't hear stuff from the family, then don't rush to do things that are not in your place to do. Especially something as sensitive as calling for people to donate blood. Because now those guys will go and donate, then they can't donate again for I don't know how many months. But what if we need the blood? You know, I was so irritated. So like, just offer support in your lane, but don't overstep. Don't overstep to try and look like a social media Mahatma Gandhi. Like, don't do that, I think. Okay, but if I start talking about Kenya and our healthcare and where we need first and foremost, this video will be banned. But I just think we have been having so many walks for so many years.
My mom went for one of them also.
Yeah, my mom used to organize
went for them in school. Yeah,
my mom used to organize them, but I feel like we need to work smart. So if you're going to have those walks, fine. But are we looking at research? Like, can we develop for ourselves? Can we be funding research in Kenya? Can we be making sure that all public hospitals, yes, we can hear our politicians say it, that we've put this and this in all these public hospitals, but are the people who are in those public hospitals trained? Are those machines serviced, right? Because you can put it and then it works for 1 year and then it stopped working. You're sat in your office, you're like, yeah, we gave them this, but it's now not working, and then what? Are we making sure that there's order? Because there's some public hospitals where when you're going for a scan or whatever, you have to bribe to get to the front of the line, or it's booked for like 3 months, as though cancer is going to be like, 3 months, let's talk in 3 months. It's not like that.
Chill.
You know, So I'm like, we have to also be very strategic in our fight. Yes, awareness. Yes, push for people to get information on just doing your breast self exam. I think you and I are very aware of it, because when you have somebody in your family who goes through cancer, yes, your risk goes up, and so you don't have the luxury of being ignorant. So you constantly have to be looking for information and knowing that, okay, have I done my self-exam this month? What does a lump feel like? Who do I go to and what happens? Or if I have many lumps, what does that mean? Is that a good sign? Is it bad? What do my breasts look like? And so that you can know, okay, that's not normal, you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot more as a country that we can do in terms of working smart in pushing for just better awareness, because you can't, we should not be having people dying from cancer. Do you know that?
Yeah.
We act like, I think that's the saddest bit, that we should not be having people dying from cancer, but we still do. I'm really excited about this brand new series because so we've expanded Adele TV. So there's Adele on the Loose, there's 50/50, there's another new series that you'll get to know a little later, and then there's now this, which is Canvas, because we can have conversations that affect Africans, and conversations that can even lead to solutions, conversations that show what Africans are doing that is so dope. And so I was really excited about this particular series. If you've watched this and you're in the same situation as us, or maybe you just want to be that person who's like, you know what, I need to get myself educated, then we're definitely going to be having a link somewhere. Here, or here, that you can go to with more information on how you can do your self-breast exams. I think that's very important. And also where you can go for screenings, because October there are very many hospitals, shout out to all of you who are having breast camps. We really appreciate that. So the information is up for you guys. Remember, continue to like Adele Onyango on Facebook, adeleonyango.com. You can binge watch all the series on there. And yeah, next Tuesday, it might be a brand new series, but it's definitely a brand new episode. That's so cheesy, but I like it.